Hello and welcome again to math class. This is Mrs. Hauk. We are in the blue math book. We are going to look at lesson 4 today in your math book, which in the bottom corner should say S12 down here. We've been talking about number lines and opposites and things like that. Remember, before you begin your lesson, make sure that you have done your extra math practice. Some of you, your homeroom teacher's asking you to do some extra math practice, so please make sure you do that each day. Some of you are noticing the camera's kind of adjusting, so you're going to have to bear with it. It kind of changes as it has different print on the screen. So we're going to review a little bit about what opposites are. Opposites. Well, we know that the opposite of slow is fast. You know that the opposite of easy would be hard. Okay? Well, numbers also have opposites. If you would circle this word right there, opposites. Numbers have opposites. So, for example, the opposite of 5 would be -5. The opposite of -3 would be +3. Okay? What would the opposite of 0 be? Do you remember what the opposite of 0 would be? John, do you remember? John, you are correct. The opposite of 0 is 0. It is the same. Okay? We reviewed opposites a little bit in our first lesson. Make sure that as you're doing your math, you listen to the videos and pay attention, because this is when the teachers are instructing. Some of you found out last week that I used a secret word in my lesson. Sometimes I will use secret words and then put them on the homework assignment. And it's my way of finding out whether or not you're actually listening to the lesson before you do your homework. All right, well, so let's look a little bit closer here at opposites. It says here that opposites, it says here if the opposites are on the sides of 0, they are the same distance from 0 on the number line. So let's underline right here, same distance from 0 on the number line. So for example, make a tiny little number line here in your book for me. Put 0 in the middle. 0 is sometimes going to go in the middle, but not always. And let's go ahead and put 2 tick marks. Remember, these are tick marks. Let's label this 2. Well, if this is 2, what would be the opposite of 2? Well, from our review over here, we know that it's -2. So -2 would be over here. Now, if you notice, we start here at 0. +2 is 2 places over from 0. And -2 is 2 places over from 0. Okay, so that's what it means by same distance from 0. They both are 2 spaces away, but they are opposite directions. Okay, all right, let's move down to the next example 1. Example 1 says locate the number 8 and its opposite on the number line. Explain how they are related to 0. All right, well, the first thing we have to do is we have to locate 8. Start at 0 and go over 8. Okay. Let's put a nice big dot so we see it. And it's opposite on the number line. Start at 0. We're going to go the opposite direction 8 times and put a dot. Explain how they are related to 0. Here's 0. Here's 0. Lily, what do you think? How far? You are correct. Both of them are 8 spaces away from 0. So we're going to write down here 8 and -8 are 8 places away from 0. This was 8 going this way, and this was 8 going this way. Same distance from 0. Okay, let's move on to exercise 2 on the bottom. This time we have to be very careful and read the directions. The direction says locate and label the opposites of the numbers on the number line. So do I want to locate 9 on the number line? No, I don't want to locate 9. I want to locate the opposites. So for me, it's going to be easier. I'm going to write what the opposites are right here, and then I will know exactly what I have to put on my number line. Okay, the opposite of 9, -9. Opposite of -2, positive 2. Opposite of 4, negative 4. Opposite of negative 7, positive 7. Now I'm ready to number or locate these on the number line. Negative 9, start here at 0. Go back 9 places. Positive 2, start at 0. 2 places. Negative 4, start at 0. Go backwards 4. Positive 7, start at 0. Positive 7. Now be careful because I'm still not finished. It says locate and label. So this was letter A, so negative 9. I'm going to label this A. B was 2, so let's label this B. C is negative 4. Oh, I almost put negative 4 here. C. And D was positive 7. Okay, once you're finished, go ahead and turn over to the next page. Okay, so let's look at example number 3 at the top. Look what the directions say. The directions say write the integer that represents the opposite of each situation. Explain what 0 means in each situation. Be careful, it says just to write an integer. And if you've been listening, integer means a number. Remember, integer means a number. Okay, so my story says 100 feet above sea level. What would be the opposite of above? Opposite of above would be below. How would I write 100 feet below? Negative. So our answer is negative 100. However, it says explain what 0 means in this situation. 0, well, since I'm talking about sea level, I know that 0 represents sea level. Okay, let's go to problem 3B. 32 degrees below 0. Well, 32 degrees below 0 I know is this. But my problem wants to know what's the opposite. Opposite would be 32. Well, since I'm talking about temperature, I can't say that 0 represents sea level in this problem. So this time I'm going to have to say that 0 represents 0 degrees. I have to make sure I'm looking at what my situation is talking about. Okay? Problem C, a withdrawal of 25. Withdrawal, that's a negative number. So that would be this, a negative 25. The opposite would be positive 25. Okay, remember, we're just writing integers. We're not writing the situation. Now I have to tell you what I think 0 means. Well, obviously 0 can't mean sea level. Obviously 0 can't mean degrees. I'm talking about money. So I would probably say if I'm talking about a withdrawal, I'm going to say that 0 represents no charge or no withdrawal. So let's see, I have to talk about money. So let's say 0 represents, let's say no withdrawal. Okay? So when I ask you what 0 represents in your story, make sure 0 matches whatever the situation is. Okay, let's move down to example C. I'm sorry, example 2. A real world example. Okay, a lot of reading here, so I'm going to read it to you. You can follow along in your book. Maria decides to take a walk along Central Avenue to purchase a book at the bookstore. On her way, she passes the Furry Friends pet shop and goes in to look for a new leash for her dog. Furry Friends pet shop is 7 blocks west of the bookstore. That sounds like something important. I might want to underline that. Furry Friends pet shop is 7 blocks west of the bookstore. She leaves Furry Friends pet shop and walks toward the bookstore to look at some books. After she leaves the bookstore, she heads east. Oh, this looks important. She heads east for 7 blocks and stops at Ray's pet shop to see if she can find a new leash at a better price. Which location, if any, is the furthest from Maria while she is at the bookstore? Determine an appropriate scale and model the situation on the number line below. Okay, so I'm going to make a little note here for myself to kind of help me understand this a little bit. I know that when I'm going east on most maps, that means it's kind of on the right side, and west is usually when we are going to the left. Okay, so it says Furry Friends Pet Shop is 7 blocks west of the bookstore. So if my bookstore is right here, let's go ahead and make sure we understand that this is east and west. If this is my bookstore, and Furry Friends is 7 blocks west. Well, west is going this way, so I'm going to say that Furry Friends is over on this side. Then I continued reading, and it says here, she leaves Furry Friends Pet Shop and walks towards the bookstore to look at some books. There's the bookstore. After she leaves the bookstore, she heads east. Oh, she's going to go this direction for 7 blocks and stops at Ray's Pet Shop. So I'll put a Ray for here. All right, so now this kind of note helps me figure out how I want to map out my number line. I'm going to put the bookstore probably right here in the middle area. So I'm going to just kind of label this bookstore. Okay, I'm going to label this bookstore. All right, let's go ahead and put our bookstore probably, let's go ahead and just kind of count at 0 for right now, so that'll help me figure out. It said that Furry Friends was 7 blocks west. So I'm going to count 7 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm going to put a dot right there, and I'm going to put Furry Friends. Label that. Help me understand this. And then if you're listening to the story up here, it says that she went 7 blocks east from the bookstore to go to Ray's. So let's count 7 this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And let's put a dot here and go ahead and let's label this Ray's Pet Shop. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and label our number line. Positives go on the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And negatives, remember, go on the left. Okay, so this shows from the bookstore. Bookstore kind of is in my middle. It's a 0. I'm going to go 7 blocks west to get to Furry Friends. I go back to the bookstore, and I'm going to go 7 blocks to the east to get to Ray's Pet Shop. Okay. Remember, if you ever need to pause my video so that you can get these written in your book, please do that. So it says to determine an appropriate scale. Well, my scale was counting by ones. Those are on my blocks. And I've labeled my stores on here. Down here it says explain your answer. What does 0 represent in this situation? Well, for me, 0 represented where the bookstore is located. So I'm going to write that. Okay, and then once you're finished writing that, we will flip over to our last page that we're going to look at today. Remember, if you need to pause, you can pause. Those of you that have been listening, I have not said the secret word yet. Okay, so let's look here at problem number 4. It says on a number line, locate and label a credit of $15 and a debit for the same amount from a bank account. What does 0 represent in this situation? Well, a credit of 15, I want you to put a little note up here. Credit means a positive 15. So a debit would be negative 15. So if you look here at our number line, we have to figure out how we're going to number this. I have to do positive and negative 15. So I'm going to put the 0 probably. Let's go ahead and see if we can find where the middle is. And let's put 0 here. Can't count by ones, my scale, because I will never make it to 15. Looks like my scale is going to have to be counting by, what do you think, Kellen? Looks like 5s. So let's go ahead and put 5, 10, 15. And do the same thing on the other side. Okay, and now it says that we need to locate and label. So we'll locate